In a crowded area of Korea, as a massive building burns in flames, firefighter Hong throws himself down to save a civilian. Because of the intense heat, the rope catches fire and he plummets rapidly to the ground. He doesn't even make it to the safety cushion. At that moment, his whole life flashes before his eyes. But after saving the little girl, he unexpectedly opens his eyes again. He gets up and runs to the girl's family, trying to see if they're okay, but no one answers him. At that moment, he hears someone calling his name from a distance. When he turns to look, he sees two men in suits smiling at him through the smoke and debris. As Hong tries to tell them to get away, he notices another firefighter trying to rescue a man who looks exactly like him. The woman Chun tells Hong that he was an exemplary person before his death and explains that they have come to guide him through the 7 trials of judgment. The guardian Mak tells Hong that their leader is waiting at the gates of the trials and that they must leave immediately. Hong has trouble understanding what he is hearing. As he walks slowly, he sees his colleagues crying over his lifeless body. Suddenly he shouts, "I couldn't have died yet. I want to see my mother." At that moment, his body rises from the ground and is pulled toward a giant portal. While Hong is still crying out that he wants to see his mother, the guardians are moved by his attachment to his family even after death. Then, they pass into a different dimension. Here, thousands of people are walking toward the Gate of Judgment. Hong meets Rim, the leader of the guardians. Rim is a guide who has helped 47 souls be reborn in the past century. He congratulates Hong for being an exemplary person. However, Hong lowers his head and says that he is not a good person. Together, they pass through the Gate of Judgment and suddenly find themselves on the mountain of murder covered in lava. Mak asks Hong if he has ever killed anyone in his life. Hong says no, but Rim explains that even if he didn't kill someone directly, he will still be judged if his failure to help led to someone's death. Shortly after, Hong is brought to a massive arena. The hatches on the ground open, revealing a huge pit filled with lava underneath. The sinful souls try to climb out of the pit, but each time they fall back in, burning. The judges accuse Hong of not saving a colleague when he had the chance. They say this negligence caused the man's death and decide that Hong must atone for this sin by burning in the lava pit for 5 years. Rim defends Hong and requests a thorough investigation of the incident. It turns out that Hong did everything he could to save his friend that night. However, they couldn't get him out because the firefighter was trapped under a huge rock. Realizing the situation, his colleague tells Hong, "Leave me, save the others." Hong follows his words and saves 8 people that night. Rim argues that Hong's heroism should be taken into account. The judge is impressed by Hong's courage and finds him not guilty. He allows him to proceed to the next trial. However, Hong is shaken every time he remembers his friend's death. He turns to the guardians and angrily asks, "Why are you helping me? I'm not a role model," he says. The truth soon becomes clear. The guardians have their own motives as well. The 3 of them have made a deal with the king of hell, Yong-hwa. If they can help 49 souls pass the trials and be reborn within a century, they themselves will be able to become human again. After a while, the team arrives at the trial of sloth. Here, Chun recounts the sacrifices Hong has made throughout his life. Hong has never been lazy. He has always helped people in every situation. Once, he knocked over a beehive and got the whole team stung. Another time, while rescuing a cat, he smashed the owner's Lamborghini with his head. The judge is impressed by Hong's selflessness and orders a statue to be erected in his honor. But when asked why he works so hard, Hong replies, "For the money." Upon hearing this answer, the judge changes his decision and punishes Hong. A giant machine, which tears apart those condemned for the sin of sloth, is set into motion. The guardians immediately intervene to defend Hong and ask the goddess to look more closely into his past. Hong wanted to earn money, not for himself, but to take care of his sick mother and to pay for the education of his brother Soo, who wanted to study law. This man's ambition, who worked disregarding his own health, stemmed not from selfishness, but from his love for his family. When the goddess understands this, she declares Hong innocent. The team boards the boat to go to the next trial. Just as they're about to relax, monsters surround them. The guardians arm themselves. A relentless battle begins. They destroy many creatures, but during the attack, the captain loses his balance and falls off the boat, barely managing to hold on. Mak is forced to defend the boat alone until the leader recovers. In his final move, he strikes a giant stone pillar. The pillar collapses, and the falling stones block the creature's path. The monsters retreat, but Mak realizes this is a bad sign, because such attacks only happen when a member of Hong's family dies and turns into an angry spirit. Rim decides to visit Hong's family before a bigger disaster occurs. When he arrives at the house, he sees that the mother is still alive and is certain that the one who died was the brother, Soo. Soo's soul has become filled with rage and has turned into a vengeful spirit. Rim tracks it, but as the dark energy flees, he starts to chase after it. Rim tries to stop the vengeful spirit with his weapon, but the spirit dodges the attacks with agile movements. The two finally clash, Rim is thrown back, and the spirit uses this opportunity to disappear. Rim desperately searches the area, tracking the trail all the way to a military base. There, he hears the soldiers talking about Sue and referring to her as a fugitive. What's even stranger is that the captain and a soldier are clearly hiding something. Rim disguises himself as a colonel from the army and interrogates the captain. He accuses him of killing Sue. When the captain panics and tries to silence Rim, it becomes clear that he really is responsible for Sue's death. Meanwhile, Hong is facing another judgment. The goddess of deception interrogates him and accuses him of writing fake wills and letters on behalf of his colleague whom he couldn't save. In these letters, Hong wrote messages for the man's daughter and pretended to be her father. Furiously, the goddess orders Hong to be bound and punished by having his tongue cut out. Rim contacts the team via telepathy and defends Hong. The truth comes out. Hong wrote fake letters not only to that girl, but also to her mother. In these letters, he wrote that his life was going well and that he was wealthy. Rim says that this is not a lie but a consolation. Hong hid the truth so that his loved ones would not suffer and would not lose hope. The goddess forgives Hong when she realizes that he didn't want to hurt anyone. When the judgment ends, Rim tells Hong that his family is doing well. But this is a lie. He shares the truth only with the other guardians. There is a dark secret behind Sue's death. Rim turns back time and sees what happened that night. Sue was accidentally shot by a soldier named Dong during patrol. Dong's gun went off because he hadn't engaged the safety. Panicking, he calls his captain. However, to protect his rank, the captain buries Sue and covers up the incident instead of saving him. When Rim reaches the body, he realizes that Sue is actually still alive. This moment reminds him of his father's burial alive in the past and deeply shakes him. At that moment, Hong arrives at the Hell of Injustice. Here, souls who did not help others are punished by being frozen in ice. Since Hong was a firefighter, he is not judged in this trial. Thanks to his helpfulness, he is allowed to pass. As they proceed to the next area by cable car, it becomes clear that the Guardians' memories of their past lives have been erased. Only Rim remembers his past. When Chun starts to reveal some truths, Mark tries to silence him but inadvertently tells Hong that his brother Sue is the vengeful spirit. Upon learning the truth, Hong is deeply shaken. The anger and shock are so intense that the entire dimension trembles. The cable car wires snap, and as the Guardians fall, Hong manages to pull himself together at the last moment and saves them. Together, they reach the Hell of Betrayal. Here, the goddess traps the souls who have betrayed their loved ones inside mirrors and shatters them to pieces. Since Hong has never betrayed anyone, he passes this trial safely as well. Meanwhile, Rim tracks down Sue and finds him in a nightclub, trying to kill one of the soldiers who buried him. A major conflict erupts between them. A fierce fight takes place in the air among the city buildings. In the end, Rim sets a trap. He captures Sue's soul with a magical cloth and manages to bind it to a building. Rim tells Sue that if he wants to be reborn, he must forgive his killers, otherwise he will cease to exist. But these words only fuel Sue's anger even more. He remembers the night he was buried alive, feels betrayed, and lets out a scream that creates a massive burst of energy. He breaks his chains and escapes once again. Meanwhile, Soldier Dong cannot bear the weight of his conscience. Drunk, he gives his mother the map showing where Sue was buried. When the woman opens the map, she finally learns where her son is. At that moment, Sue's spirit also appears behind his mother and silently watches everything. After a while, Sue returns to Rim. Dong's remorse and his mother, now knowing the truth, have eased his anger. He tells Rim that he has forgiven Dong and makes one last request of him. He asks him to act as an intermediary and speak with Dong one last time. He promises that when the conversation is over, he will surrender to judgment. Rim agrees. Sue's spirit appears before Dong and tells him that he is forgiven and that he should no longer shed tears for the past. Dong bows his head in tears as Sue's spirit finds peace, while Hong reaches the next trial gate, the Hell of Violence. Here, he must jump into a massive pit. Hong jumps in without any hesitation. As he falls, he hits a large rock, but just before he crashes to the ground, Mac catches him. The two of them land safely together. However, Hong loses his balance and falls onto the two guardians. All of them tumble back down into the depths of the pit. As Mac jumps after them, Hong catches a little girl in midair and just as he did before his death, tries to protect her. Just as they're about to crash to the ground, their fall suddenly stops. The judgment of violence begins. The prosecutors accuse Hong of beating his sibling during high school. The family's poverty and the child's malnutrition make this crime even more severe. Moreover, Hong never apologized, left home the next day, and never returned. The judge decides that Hong has committed violence against his own family and sentences him to be thrown into a pit and pelted with stones. Seeing that Hong is about to be convicted, Chun immediately intervenes. He requests that the case be considered together with the next and final judgment, because the two incidents are connected. However, this is an extremely risky request. If Hong is found guilty in the next judgment, the guardians will also lose their powers forever. Soon, the terrible truth of that night comes to light. One night when Sue wakes up, she sees her brother kneeling beside their mother. When she asks what he's doing, she realizes that Hong is trying to suffocate their mother with a pillow in his hands. She jumps in shock trying to stop him, but Hong, in a rage, drops the pillow and punches his sister repeatedly. In reality, Hong was completely helpless at that time. While his family was struggling with hunger, his mother was gravely ill. He believed that all the pain would only end with death. That's why he tried to do that terrible thing, then, overcome with guilt, left home and never returned. The guardians are devastated when they learn this truth. Now they have no hope of salvation left, because the next stop is the hell of disobedience to parents. In other words, it is the final trial where those who harm their mothers are judged. At that moment, Rim is taking Sue's soul to her body to prepare her for rebirth. But when they arrive at the camp, Sue is deeply shocked, because she sees her mother in front of her, begging the soldiers to show her son's body. The woman is exhausted and desperate. Her only wish is to find out where her missing son is. The military captain angrily attacks the woman, tears up her banners, and pushes her to the ground. The elderly woman faints. At that moment, all the anger inside Sue flares up again. Seeing that the man who killed him is now hurting his mother, he loses control. He overflows with dark energy, breaks his chains, grabs Rim, and hurls him far away with immense force. Sue's rage grows, his body transforms into a massive whirlwind. He pulls in and devours the surrounding soldiers. He razes the camp to the ground. He creates a gateway to the land of the dead. The place turns into a complete battlefield. Rim does everything he can to save the soldiers. At that moment, Mac passes through the portal and enters the world of the living. He attacks Sue by smashing a giant statue and stuns him. Rim seizes this opportunity. He catches Sue with a magical rope. Thus, the whirlwind stops and the destruction comes to an end. On the other side, Hong's final judgment begins. This time, the king of hell, Yong-hwa himself, is seated as the judge. Hong is accused of attempting to kill his mother and using violence against his brother. The king explains that Hong's mother knew about these incidents but chose to remain silent. The fact that the woman carried this pain inside her for years has made Hong's crime even graver. Yong-hwa delivers his verdict. Hong will be punished in this hell for eternity for attempting to kill the one who gave him life. At that very moment, the ground shakes. An ethereal voice echoes. This voice belongs to the spirit of Sun, who is speaking with Hong's mother. Rim uses all his power to allow Sun to enter his mother's dream. There, Sue apologizes to his mother on behalf of his brother, Hong. He tells her that after that night, Hong worked tirelessly for 15 years, trying to build a life for his family out of guilt. Upon hearing this, the mother, in tears, says that she has already forgiven him and that she is the one who should apologize for not being able to take good care of her children. When Hong hears these words, he collapses to the ground and begins to cry. This scene even moves King Yong-hwa of Hell. Seeing that the mother has forgiven her son, God changes his decision. Hong is no longer guilty and has been accepted for reincarnation. Hong bows his head and thanks Chu and the other guardians. He slowly disappears among bright lights, heading toward his new life. When Rim returns to the world, he decides that Sun will be the 49th reincarnated soul. Thus, their own agreements will also be fulfilled. The group reaches the hell of disobedience to parents and advances, fighting countless demons standing before them to clear the way to the King of Hell.